With mounting crises in our communities and a blanket of distrust for the institutions that govern us, people are turning to each other and the internet to learn and find community. Sometimes this goes great, and sometimes this goes wrong.
Yeah.
And to tell us a little something about that is my homie, Frank Satterwhite, principal of 1600 Avenue. Today, before I forget, is International Privacy Day. Happy International Privacy Day, Frank. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Hello to everyone from Germany. So community is going to be an amazing series, but it's going to get things accomplished, right? So in community, we want to bring people together through music, but we also want to have a moment where we show how tech and the misuse of tech can really threaten the very fabric of what we feel community should be. And today, I want to tell you, I feel fortunate. I want to thank Jeff Orlowski, the director for the Social Dilemma, them allowing us to officially get involved with the conversation. One thing about the Social Dilemma, made a lot of great points, but it wasn't culturally, it needs to be customized to our community. The message is not directed at our community properly. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to take this conversation with their permission and add a cultural sensitivity and cultural lens to it. So the first thing I want to talk about, and it's super relevant, recently the Capitol in the United States was stormed by terrorists. And people say, well, how did this happen? I have friends from Venezuela and they said, hey, this doesn't happen. This happens in Venezuela. How did this happen? And the short answer is tech and the misuse of tech. Specifically, you have a lot of people that formed a digital community, and this digital community was fed through social media platforms, a rabid diet of racism, misinformation, hatred, and violence. And so there was an organized approach to taking all those messages, and it manifested itself on the Capitol steps in the nation's capital. So what I want to do is walk you through, when you say, how did tech do it? So what I want to walk you through is a sample of an algorithm that a platform like Facebook uses. And in this algorithm, it customizes reality. So everybody at that protest had a customized reality, but they shared it also. So first thing I'm going to do is show you a quick clip. And this is from Facebook. And what Facebook says is, here's our explanation for what we do, why we do it. And I'm going to stop it twice while it plays because there's some very important points to make.
Meet Juan.
Hola.
When Juan interacts with something on Facebook, it lets his community know that their posts, photos, stories, and articles are important to him. It also helps Facebook predict what content may be meaningful to Juan and what he might want to see in his newsfeed.
Okay, so I stopped it there because Facebook just gave you, it just sounds so happy. But what you didn't hear, because if you're not a techie or cyber person, is basically you gave them full access to your photos, your personal information, your family's information, the tagging on the photos, geolocation data. So effectively, they have a real complete picture of who you are because they're getting this data every day. So that's the first thing I want to point out. But again, the commercial is very happy.
But liking something is just one of the many signals that can help us understand what might be important to people. Is it a photo or video? Who is tagged in the post? How recent is it? We use machine learning at scale to predict what types of content people would want to see in their feeds. The system calculates a score for each individual signal in a post to predict how valuable a user would find that post based on different signals, such as a like or comment. Demotions are then applied to content that people have told us they generally want to see less of, like clickbait or misinformation, narrowing the remaining list down to the most relevant posts. The system then calculates a final score for each post, and this is where the real personalization happens.
Okay, real personalization. So all these factors come into play. And when they say this is where the real personalization comes into play, the factor that is given the most weight is content that will make you react, that you are most likely to react to. And there's a lot of math behind that, but basically, Facebook knows what type of content will make you react aggressively and passionately. So when you have Facebook and you check it, and there's an article that makes you very angry, that is not an accident.
The actions a person might take more often, like commenting on posts instead of sharing, may play a larger role for ranking content for them. And as a finishing touch,
Okay. So did you notice, so with their algorithm, Mark Zuckerberg changed it, I think 2018, and he said, you know what? Those things that come in, that collection of information, what is going to get the highest ranking and the most weight is content that you react to. He called it meaningful social interaction. So how does that relate to the Capitol? Okay, so picture for the last 2 years, you have people and they make friends in these groups. We all hear about the various groups online, right? Say if it's QAnon or whoever it is, they make friends in these groups. So the content that a person sees every day that is prioritized and weighted the heaviest is posts by their friends, their families, or news that they will react to most passionately. And you say, well, how do they know this? It's the clicks is one way. The other way, they have all your data. But so picture someone being fed this reality every day for 2 years. And notice what the algorithm, it says when the collection of information comes in, it doesn't sort what was news today. It sorts what you're going to react to. So each day you get more and more of the same. So after 2 years, it doesn't matter what's on the Washington Post. It doesn't matter what the president says if he's not a certain person. All that matters is the information that you trust because it's coming from your friends and family and associates that shows up in your newsfeed. And so the Capitol, people say, how did this happen? I say, how didn't it happen? And so one of the things with our company we want to do, I just want to show people so they're aware. When you get that Facebook message, don't react. And at the same time, if you have someone you haven't talked to in a while because you just think they have these crazy views, and trust me, what they will tell you is they saw something on the internet, and you are the one that is out of touch with reality. They don't see themselves at the Capitol as terrorists. They see themselves as patriots. You know why? Because that's what that news feed is telling them. So one of the things our company is really passionate about is setting up boundaries with social media. So our community can know how to use it and not be used by it.
Yeah, I'm so grateful that you're doing this work because I'm just constantly reminded in every facet of political life and public life that this is a moment where we have to think bold, we have to use new tools, we have to really try to educate and innovate the way that we educate our own communities around around privacy, around ownership of our own data. And this is the time that the status quo must, and it can actually be disrupted. We're standing at this threshold between worlds right now. The old analog world is gone. I remember
Exactly.
before we didn't have internet. We're not going back to that. Do you remember dial-up? Like, wow, this is another time and place. We're not going back to that. This is the digital age. But at this point, right now, we have to collectively choose to build the future that we want, one that centers humanity, dignity, and justice for all. And one of the things that really got me riled up about this project is the fact that you very clearly named that there cannot be social justice without
Exactly.
digital justice. Our people are disproportionately being exploited by this technology.
Exactly.
And we have to talk about that. We really, especially today, International Privacy Day, privacy. I'm from England, so I say privacy. International Privacy Day is the perfect day to talk about the impact that technology is having on our rights, our
Absolutely.
human rights, our privacy rights. And today is all about underlying the importance and the value of our own personal information.
Exactly.
There's so, I mean, I know that we could go off all day about this stuff, but I would love for you to talk a little bit more about how social media, how the big tech is violating our human rights, and why 1600 Avenue and Priv are centering digital justice in their work.
So with tech, one thing I always try to tell people that work for me or we end up partnering with is we try to show people. It's okay to talk about. So I wanted to show you the Facebook clip, and I'm going to tie that clip back in the end to at the lowest level how tech connects to that Capitol riot. But we try to show people. So I'm going to share my screen for just a sec. And okay, just one sec.
No problem.
Oh, sorry, is that a little bit of, okay. So
in the meantime, oh, you got it. Perfect.
We also apply processes intended to.
Sorry, I'm trying to get out of this. Yeah, okay, sorry about that, you all. So I'll share my screen. And so we always try to show people what tech is, right? And connected to day-to-day life. So if you look at this, you ask yourself, well, what is this, right? If you look at this, what is this? So these are, I'm not a doctor, but these are strains of coronavirus. And basically what happens with the coronavirus, if you could see it, these tentacles grow out from normal cells. They take infectious particles and they're able to compromise healthy cells, and it keeps growing. So my question to you is, if every day people could see coronavirus like this, would they wear masks? If you could literally see a person who's infected and you could see the cells in their body, would you wear a mask? Because, you know, I'm not making this a medical conversation, but there's so much misinformation and, you know, it's a hoax, it doesn't exist. But if people could see it, I think they would be more likely to wear a mask. And so talking about privacy, I tried to do the same thing. If I can show you what your phone is doing, it looks like it's just sitting there. It's not. It has homies, friends, colleagues all over the world that is talking to nonstop behind your back. So what I would like to do right now, I'm literally going to show you my phone, and I'm going to show you what is on my phone. Okay. And so this is the app we developed. It's called Priv the app. And what you see here is trackers blocked. What does that mean? Well, if you go to exposed, which is one of the features, and it shows you who and where and what is tracking you. or you go to live view, it also shows you, do you see these processes? So when you launch Facebook, behind the scene, there are multitudes of processes. So here you have something called mqtt-mini.facebook.com, right? And the number of trackers, these are trackers. They're on your phone right now, but you never see them, right? And so every time you launch Skype or Facebook or Instagram or Facebook Messenger, these are trackers and processes that are connecting to servers around the world. And when they connect with these servers, you remember the video when Facebook happily said, hey, yeah, we need to know your pictures and so we can know what's important to you. Well, what's happening is there's $1 trillion business where these trackers are sending your data to servers, and those servers are running these algorithms, and these algorithms are what's taking those signals, the content you'll react to, collections of data, and that algorithm is taking that information and then customizing your reality. But this is how it's happening from your phone. So everyone at that march, so if you see an X, we feel it's malicious. Like this is just stealing your data. If it's green, we vetted a lot of these. We don't feel like they are as damaging. But the point is, these are the processes that are running on the people at the Capitol Riot's phones. These are the processes that every time they clicked on something or liked something or looked up an article, we're sending data to these external servers. And literally, these Facebook has servers and social media companies have servers all over the world. And to me, these are the processes that people never see, but are directly responsible for the reality that you live in. So Edward Snowden, I'm not saying I agree with everything he said, but you remember he's had such a voice in privacy violations, especially from the government. Well, big tech, get your permission. When you accept the cookies and you know, like the video, you watch that video and say, great, you know, they can get my photos and they'll know more about me so they can make my experience in this world great. Edward Snowden made a point though, and I'll play you a clip he said toward the end of this webinar. He said, people have never had the tools to have visibility about what is going on with their data. He said, once they have the tools, they won't allow it. And so to Edward Snowden, I would say, now we have the tools. So what can Priv do? It's not just Priv, it's about just a mentality. Being able to have control of who comes in and out of your life and has access to you. So this tool empowers you to decide who has access to your data, where they are. It's almost like, would you let your child, picture your child has a cell phone and data is being extracted from the cell phone when they're on YouTube. In essence, your child is having a conversation or is connected to some external person you've never met. That starting to know more and more about your child every time they go into YouTube, and you don't even know who they are. So at minimum, you should have a choice as to who is allowed to connect to your phone and who is allowed to have your data. And once you make a choice, guess what? We now have the technology to not just show you what's happening. You can have strong digital and privacy hygiene, but it's your decision. But that's where the decision should be. You know.
Absolutely. So enthused to hear you naming these things and naming the fact that it's actually a personal decision that we each have to make about what we're comfortable sharing. And like you said, up until, during Edward Snowden's heydays, the tools didn't exist for regular citizens. And it took, people like Edward Snowden
Right.
to come out and say, your information is being stolen at a massive rate and used for nefarious activities. You might want to know about that.
But Tanya, he couldn't show anybody.
Yes.
It's just this mysterious comment, and Edward Snowden could never, well, he published a lot of but I'm talking about the individual citizen.
Yes.
Everyday
That's
citizen.
what I'm talking about.
He couldn't show them what was happening. And I feel like we can.
Mm-hmm. So how, if folks want to find out more about Priv the app, how would they do that? How can they find it? How do we connect with this? How do we connect people who are watching with this technology?
Go to 1600avenue.com, and we want to make this available to everyone for free. This app. I grew up poor, you just have to get back, right? And so the other thing I just want people, let's get a little, I'm gonna ask you a question now.
Oh,
So,
no.
Anytime you had countries prosper in the world, usually it's on the backs of poor people.
Every single time, racial
Every single
capitalism.
time. And so the poor people never get really the benefits of the end result of these periods of great business and industrial success. This is your data is $1 trillion business. So from another standpoint, for me, it's annoying because you saw the video's happy.
Yeah.
What the video really should say is, your product, when you give me your data for free, I'm going to take it and I'm going to put it into this algorithm. I'm going to be able to sell it to people. I'm going to be able to change people's behaviors, especially in poor communities, unfortunately. And it gives me power to decide the direction of these communities that we're these communities that we're all a part of. So if you're going to have $1 trillion business, right, at least care a little bit about the community where the data is coming from. And the Mark Zuckerbergs they don't care. So all I want to do is, if people want to allow these companies to have their data, I want to make them aware. I want to show them what's happening. Then if they wear the mask or not, it's up to them, right? But at least they have a choice and they're aware.
I just want to take a moment to point out that we got a comment in the chat that's jumped out at me. If we talk about an ethical practice, then we are conversing about something that has a wildly applicable policy implication that exists cross-platform and affects more people at a fundamental level. I see Priv and the work that 1600 Avenue is doing as, a step in that right direction and a real attempt to connect people with the truth about what's going on with their information and what's going on with their data. And I have Priv the app on my phone, and I can tell you, I was shocked and very unhappy to see how many people I don't have a Facebook anymore. I don't have an Instagram anymore. I was shocked to see even those two decisions that I'd made, extricating myself from those two platforms, I thought was protecting me in some way, shape, or form. But it's really about the insidious ways that all of the things that we connect with on these devices continue to mine us for information and control us.
Let me make a quick comment too. I saw the comment in the chat. And so I believe that for a long time, that there is no ethics in business. But if you go to, my day job is I'm a CEO of a cyber consultancy in Europe. It's called 1600 Cyber. Our motto is, and our theme is, community is our business. You're right, you don't see it. And so one of the reasons for this whole conversation is, I wish tech companies would see this conversation and go out and do exactly what I'm doing. Copy word for word and tell people how tech is being misused and how it's threatening the very freedoms that make life worth living, but they won't because there's too much money. They're making too much money. So I just believe that you can make money, help people, and be ethical. You might make less money, but at the end of the day, when you look in the mirror, is what's in your bank account is important, or is the example you're setting for your kids? And what kind of citizen you are, and how you show love to people. So literally, if you go to the website 1600 Cyber, you will see that we believe community is our business, and every client we have in Europe sees that.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I am super excited about the conversations that we're going to continue having on this platform. This platform is community, part of Priv TV. If you have not been to the website yet, 1600 Cyber, 1600 Avenue, get it into your mind, get it onto your phone, onto your devices. And if you check out the website, you can find out more information about how to connect with this app, how to make sure that you and your data and your privacy continue to stay protected.